Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back here. This show is being recorded for Sunday, October 10th. And as always, these shows are recorded for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly through my guides and angels and counsel and famous people from history. So they're for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you find these shows helpful, just remember to like and subscribe and share. Also hit the notification bell. That way you're alerted each time we upload a new show. And one other very just quick housekeeping item. Linda G, the Comanche Psychic, and I will continue to do shows together. We're just kind of aligning our schedules. So for this Sunday, October 10th, we won't be doing a show together. And we will not be doing a show together on the next Sunday, October 17th. But then the following Sunday on the 24th, we'll then rejoin and we'll try to get our calendars synced up. So that's kind of the layout of the schedule with Linda G and the show that we do together. Also, we get asked all the time how you submit questions for these shows. And we put a request out each week on Monday or Tuesday on the community board of our channel, Sterling Psychic Medium. And that's where all the questions are garnered from for these shows. If by chance you submit questions via email to our offices, those questions actually never make it to the community board or to these shows. So just a quick reminder, just submit the questions on the community board each week, and that's how we gather them. I also just want to thank everybody for the diligence and support of the channel. It's growing very nicely, and we're glad that it's providing value and help to a lot of people. The level of sophistication of the questions is just great, and each week we get a large number of them. We also try not to repeat questions, so doing our best to kind of bring you fresh information each week. So with no further ado, let me get back to here the top 45 countdown for this week. And with no further ado, let's get started. So question number 45. In the movie Hereafter, Matt Damon plays a man whose psychic abilities are awakened after a childhood illness. That happened to me as well during a near-death experience 5 years ago. What causes this to happen? When you enter an NDE or a near-death experience, you actually get very, very close to your angels and guides. So it's a bit of, it jogs a memory, if you will, that you may have somehow been diminished during birth. So this jogs a memory, you get very, very close. And by doing that, that helps kind of turn on the gifts that we all have from birth, but it kind of helps reignite them. It's almost like they say, you never forget how to ride a bicycle. Once you get back on the bicycle, you remember. So it kind of, for me, it reminds me of that sort of an experience. Number 44 in our top 45 countdown. Will the Supreme Court allow candidates to be reimbursed for their own campaign contributions for unlimited amounts? Yes. I see the Supreme Court allowing reimbursement of campaign expenses. However, they're going to put a cap on it. So it will not be unlimited, but they're going to put what I call a fair and reasonable cap on the reimbursement of those expenses. So it won't be unlimited, no. Number 43. Why did the Panama Papers have so little impact on how the American people react to the Pandora Papers? So why did the Panama Papers have so little impact on how the American people react to the Pandora Papers? So what I'm being told is the Panama Papers actually had a very significant impact, but it wasn't all public. So what I'm being told here is it actually led to indictments and legal action that in fact paved the way for this recent release of, was it the Pandora Papers? So the premise of the question is why did it have so impact? I'm being told it did have significant impact and laid the groundwork for this current release that just occurred that was 5 years after that prior release. Number 42. What will happen with the impending IATSE strike? And that's the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees. So, I know a little bit about this, so let me just tell you that I know that union, IATSE, already authorized the strike. They authorized the strike if they can't get the negotiations through with the Alliance of Television Producers, Alliance of Motion Picture Television Producers. So what I'm being told on that is that, unfortunately, it's going to go through to an actual strike. It looks like the strike is very short-lived. So a few days, a few weeks, and the strike is all about better health care benefits, kind of more reasonable working hours instead of 16 or 17-hour days. So looks like to me we'll go through to a strike, but be fairly short-lived. So it looks like everybody gets reasonable fairly quickly. Number 41. Can you see if the Facebook whistleblower, Frances, will remain safe and what her future will be like? So as I'm being told, she will absolutely be safe. And this, actually, the things that she's done so far in her life will lay the groundwork for a book and a movie. And also, it's going to provide what I call the fundamental baseline for new federal regulations of social media and news agencies and new commissions that will look over the safety and accuracy of information. So she'll be safe, and her future will actually be quite bright because she laid the groundwork. I also, interesting enough, see a role for her many years down the road in politics. So she'll actually come through that door, if you will, in terms of helping everyone. 40 in our countdown. The New Madrid Fault near St. Louis, Missouri is overdue for a major earthquake. About when do you see this happening? So this has come up on prior shows, but the New Madrid Fault, I know it's a 120-mile fault. What they're telling me is it's going to have a lot of ongoing seismic activity, but it's kind of more minor earthquakes. So for me, it's 3.0s, 4.0s, 3 or 4. That is level 3, level 4 earthquakes and seismic activity. But I don't see a major earthquake, which for me would be like a 6 or a 7 or over a 7, not for a number of decades. So I don't see it happening in the near future, but looks like in a number of decades, there could easily be a major fault. So a lot of ongoing minor activity. Number 39, will Facebook survive as a platform after the whistleblower controversies? Will Zuckerberg be forced to step down? Well, what I'm being told is within 3 to 4 years here, Zuckerberg will step aside and bring on they'll bring on a new chairman, because the board of directors is going to push for that due to the stock value price and kind of the value of the company. So he will step aside. He may have a co-chairmanship position for a while and then move on. And I do see that it will survive as a company, but be much more heavily under scrutiny by these new federal regulations and things that Frances will help to facilitate her whistleblowing activity. So looks like there is a shift there with Zuckerberg, and it looks like the platform will survive, but it'll be much more transparent. 38. I've heard of Hawaii's night marcher's ghost. There are so many accounts, including a recent video, that they must be real. Are these entities suffering? Is there something the living can do to bring them peace, or should we just leave them alone? So I'm being told these are ancient ancestors, so ancient warriors that are coming back almost to pay respect to the living and honor their history. So this is really what I'll call like a blessed event. These are real spirits. There are real sightings. They're not in pain, but they're coming back out of a sense of love and honor, and just to help support still the living. So they're not suffering. There's nothing you have to do to help them there, but just honor their presence. 37. How many levels of heaven are there? And is it true that those at the highest level are in continuous prayer or meditation for the benefit of the world? Well, I'm being told there's an infinite number of levels of heaven, and that the universe goes on in an infinite way. But yes, the higher you get energetically in heaven, the more you try to spend time to help the universe, to help Earth. So I wouldn't say that individuals that are at the highest levels of heaven spend all their time meditating or praying, but they do stay focused on trying to help for the greater good. Interestingly enough, I know that a lot of religions, I'm being reminded here that, say, Christianity and religion of the world define the levels of heaven as being 3 or 7. And my guides are saying there's actually an infinite number of levels. Number 36. What do you see for the Ukraine over the next 2 or 3 years? Will it survive as a country or fall apart? It will absolutely survive as a country, but have a lot of keen interaction, if you will, from the US and Russia. Now, what I mean by that is that there's always going to be a kind of saber rattling going on between the US and Russia. They'll have a lot, the Ukraine will have a lot of support from US, but they will survive as a country, and there'll be a bit of saber rattling over the next number of years. I think the person asked the question over the next 2 to 3 years here. So they'll survive, and the US will still be very supportive. Number 35 in the top 45 countdown, Sterling. Do the aliens who watch over Earth have some sort of alien organization like the Federation, Star Trek, with a rule that they are not to introduce advanced technology to planetary cultures that would affect, harm, shock the social structure on any given planet? Well, yes, there are actually several galactic federations, I'm being told, several, let's say, ruling, organizing bodies of ETs and aliens. And what these do is it's almost like a constitution, but it forms what I'll call the rules of the road. So yes, advanced extraterrestrials, aliens are guided by this galactic federation not to share too much advanced technology. And we can see some of this over the centuries, if you will. Even the way nuclear technology was introduced and then became a problem for mankind, the aliens are still, the ETs are still watching over us and our use of nuclear arsenals and missiles. So yeah, there is a galactic federation. There's several galactic federations, and kind of a constitution that helps guide the rules of the road. And they do guide how much advanced technology they offer up to any culture or to Earth at any given time. Good question. 34, how long will it take for the environment to heal after the Orange County oil spill? Will the company responsible be held accountable? I'm being told that it's going to be a very short time frame for recovery, so that's good news. So for me, that feels like just a few years. It feels like the spill was much less severe than first thought. So it's almost like 25% is bad. So whether there was over 120,000 gallons they thought spilled, maybe it's only more like 25,000 gallons, still bad. But looks like the recovery will be fairly swift. Incremental recovery over the next number of months. Might take 2 years total recovery, or could be as much as 3 years. It's going to be fairly quick. And I do see the responsible parties compensating businesses that have been affected by the oil spill. So all in all, it looks like it's going to be a situation that will be handled fairly well. 33, is the ascension to the new Earth actually an internal spiritual shift that makes us feel things differently, but physically we're still on the same Earth? Or do we actually physically go somewhere else? Yes, it's an internal spiritual shift that makes you feel like Earth is a different place, but you have an increased level of consciousness and understanding, but still on the same Earth. You're not in a different place. 32, can spirit guides predict lottery numbers? I get asked this all the time. The answer is interestingly yes, if it's on your life path. So if winning the lottery is on your life path, they will help guide you. And so for a good example of that is if you're meant to win the lottery as part of your life path, and then you go on to create, a wildlife refuge or some other large social program, that may in fact be on your life path. It could also be on your life path that you're supposed to win the lottery, and just through the way the funds get squandered, it's a lesson to many other people. So, internet guides can assist you with the lottery, but only if it's on your life path. And for the most part, they don't offer up, lottery numbers to everybody that's doing any kind of psychic mediumship work. It doesn't work that way. Number 31, Biden is friends with Big Pharma, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Does Biden friendship with this CEO affect Biden's decisions with negotiating with Big Pharma? I'm getting no, and I'm getting that Biden has been very transparent with all of his interactions and investments. So I'm getting no, that's not going to be a problem. Number 30 on the top 45 countdown. Can meditation help heal your body, like improve eyesight or hearing? Well, yes, meditation, what it does is it helps center your body. It helps put your body in synchronicity with the universe and helps balance your chakras. And yes, in effect, meditation can certainly help with the healing process that all our bodies have. So yes, in that sense, it certainly can help create healing energy and help you heal. 29. I think 45 is saying he's going to run in 2024. Do you see him actually running in 2024? And if so, does he win? What I get is, in his mind, he's already started to run, believe it or not. So he's already started like fundraising and started to run. He will try to make a run in 2024, but it'll be stopped by federal indictments and federal investigations. So something about federal indictments that stop him from being able to run. But in his mind, he's already started running for 2024 and already starting to raise funds and donations. But he won't win. 28. I was recently told in Akashic Records reading that my starseed family is from Sirius. My question is, do we all have starseed families? Yes, nearly everyone has a starseed family. Nearly everyone on the planet has some connection with a starseed family. We go back millions of years. So yes, the answer is yes to that. Okay, number 27 on our countdown. Sterling, you mentioned that a finite number of souls were created in the beginning of time. Is there actually going to be an end of time? So first off, the universe is on an infinite timeline. So by its very nature, if it's infinite, there really is no beginning and no end. A lot of people point to the beginning of the universe, and what I'm always told, I'm being told here again, is that is an event. So that what we call the beginning of the universe is an event on the universal or the infinite timeline of the universe. So by that very nature, there is no end of time. Number 26. When our pets come to us from other families or shelters, are they members of all the soul families they lived with? So animals are part of the angelic realm, and they do move very freely among angelic families and our spiritual families. And yes, all the families they touch, they're connected to those extended spiritual families that we're all part of. So yes. 25 in the top 45 countdown. Will Congress pass legislation to prevent another attempt to overthrow an election by the losing party or prevent another presidential candidate with a criminal history from running? Yes, I do see Congress passing legislation, and it looks like they're asking about this losing party. All this somehow looks like it's also connected with the For the People Act. So not just fair voting, but kind of results of elections and how they're administered and accounted for and validated. So the answer is yes, they'll be passing legislation, and it feels to me like they're telling me it's also associated with the For the People Act. Number 24, countdown. Are there some questions that our guides won't or can't give us the answer to? Well, yes. You won't get answers to things that would prevent you from, let's say, a very important life lesson. So on your journey, they won't give you lessons that will prevent you from a life lesson. However, they will give you what I call guardrails to keep you on track. So I think that's kind of a fair way to answer that. You'll always get the help you need, but may not get all the exact answers if you're supposed to go through a lesson. They won't prevent that. I'll also tell you this, I just being reminded that guides and angels will also be very careful with information they share with everybody regarding crimes, because there's certain ways that the solving of crimes have to be handled here on this planet. And not everybody, let's say not everybody in law enforcement is attuned to psychic mediumship work. And so there's some difficulties going to be created, let's say with psychic mediums helping to solve crimes, if they have the full answer. So I think in answer to this question, maybe it's kind of a corollary to the question being answered. There's some information that will be revealed to psychics and mediums and people that do that kind of work involving crimes, and our angels and guides will be very careful with that. Number 23, do you see a time when we will no longer have to pay federal income tax on Social Security? Yes, within a few short years, but that's going to come after the new tax laws go into effect that put minimum tax rates on major corporations and close a number of loopholes. So the new tax laws will go in place, and then they'll reduce, the federal income tax on Social Security? They will. 22, during our life on earth, we have many regrets, actions that cause pain, words we have said to hurt someone. Are there words or phrases we can say to the universe or the God source, the one source, so we acknowledge the bad behavior and desire to learn and change for the better? Yes, the most important point is the acceptance of the lesson that was learned. So whatever lesson that was learned through that process, the first big part is the acceptance of that lesson, and then moving through it in a way that you actually help other people. Remember, this is a school down here, and so as you learn lessons, and as we in fact move through traumas, for example, our main focus and one of the main reasons we're here is to help others learn from our lessons and help others move through their traumas. So yes, the answer is either words or phrases. It's really the acceptance of the lesson and then help others move through on the journey based on the lessons you learned. 21, if and when it's time for me to adopt another dog, will my deceased dog, Chance, send one to me? This question was asked by somebody who had a deceased dog, Chance. Yes, in nearly all cases, our animals, our spiritual family animals, and the ones that have been here with us and we've loved in the human space, when they move on, they do help us find the next animals that will come to us. That's all part of their journey and the way they help from the other side. 20, the Republicans are setting up for another government coup in the next elections, letting the governors of red states to pick their own electors and go against the voters' pick. Will this succeed? No, and somehow I still see this also coming back to the For the People Act when that's passed. And that's going to be well out into 2022, but I do see as that gets negotiated, there's going to be safeguards in that entire For the People Act. I think it was John Lewis originally penned that act, but I do see those safeguards coming into place, so it will not allow the GOP to execute a coup and change the way that a lot of the red states are handling the voting. 19, how bad is the La Palma volcanic eruption going to get? This question comes up a lot. I do see an ongoing level of activity that's going to get increasingly worse over the next 12 months. Let's say 10 to 12 months, from where we are right now. And it does look like it culminates into a shift, what we call plates, geographical plates within the Earth. So it does look like it creates a fairly substantial earthquake inside of about 12 months. And that does cause somewhat minor tsunami, if tsunamis can be minor. That does end up at some point even reaching the east coast of the US. I don't see massive destruction, but I do see an earthquake coming, but it's as a result of these plates moving within the region, and they're being exacerbated by the earthquake, which is getting worse and worse as we go over the next 12 months here. 18, I would love your opinion and your guides on when we will have new mechanical heart released in the US. My guides are telling me that we're already off to the races. So when they say that, that means that there's probably already initial FDA approval if they're involved in that. There's already initial testing. And for me, it feels like within a 6-month period, we'll see a release. So they're probably already testing. So it looks like it's going to come up fairly quickly. Looks like major advancements. For some reason, they're honing in about 6 months out. Might be a little faster, might be a little longer, but looks like it's coming rather quickly. 17, do our past loved ones like and enjoy us trying to contact them? Yes, our loved ones always enjoy communicating with us, and we hope that we enjoy communicating with them. Because they indicate that a lot of times we feel they can't always hear them, but they always hear us. As soon as you invoke their name, They're around instantaneously. So yes, they enjoy communicating with us. 16. What will the Supreme Court decide on Roe v. Wade and the states with lawsuits? So first off, Roe v. Wade will stand. But what I do see over the next at least 2-year period here is a lot of infighting, a lot of court cases, a lot of state and federal cases being brought to challenge the Texas law, to challenge Roe v. Wade. In the end, it's all going to stand, but there's going to be a lot of legal fighting, and a lot of what we've seen so far is going to continue on for the next couple of years, but Roe v. Wade will stand. 15. As a retired healthcare worker, I am appalled by the recent attacks on these brave people who have cared for so many during COVID. They have risked their own health and now are risking their lives. How will this play out? Yes, I mean, God bless all the healthcare workers, just done a wonderful job for everyone. What I see is that a lot of what's going on with the healthcare or harassment and the kind of violence, what they're talking about here, the attacks, I see that subsiding as we get out into 2022. So, and that looks like because a lot of the anti-vaxxer and anti-masker efforts are going to start to relax. So that in turn is going to kind of relax a lot of the violence and a lot of the violence around healthcare workers. So it looks to me like it's going to get much better as we get out into kind of, mid-2022. 14. What is the future career position for Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who's been tackling the dark money trails with the Supreme Court appointments? Yes. Interesting enough, it looks like he has a very bright future. He's the Democrat from Rhode Island, and it looks like he's been really attacking as the Americans for Prosperity Foundation or something of that nature. But it looks like he'll have a lot of success. And the question was, what about his future? It looks to me like there's somebody's going to offer him a vice presidential role. So in one of the presidential campaigns coming up, it looks like he very well could be a candidate for vice president. So I see a very bright future for him. Absolutely. 13. What do we look like when we cross over? So the question is easily anything that we want to look like. So we certainly have a memory of how we looked in the last life and prior lives, but we can look any way we want to on the other side. It reminds me, there's some famous scenes in Robin Williams' film, What Dreams May Come, but I think it's Cuba Gooding Jr. I think he shows himself as a woman on the other side to Robin Williams. I think when they first meet, I don't remember the movie exactly, but I think Robin, I remember something effective, said, well, who are you? And he said, well, I'm Cuba, whatever that was, but he showed himself as a woman. You can show yourself any way you want. But what's interesting is you meet family members, they'll have some sensitivity that it's you, but you may in fact have to say, hey, it's me, but I'm looking different. So a lot of fun. You actually have a lot of fun with that on the other side. You can look any way you want. 12. Will they be forced to print the $1 trillion coin by the end of this year? No, not by the end of this year, but as we get out into next year. And the $1 trillion coin is really kind of it's a bit of a function of government. What it really does is it places like $1 trillion on deposit with the Treasury, so that if we ever have any kind of a budget snafu or a stop on the budget ceiling, government can still pay its bills. So it's really kind of a mechanism, if you will, just to ensure that the government can always pay its bills in case we have some of these debt ceiling problems. So I don't see it effectively being printed this year, but it will be enacted and printed next year. 11. Is it possible to ask the universe to meet a Pleiadian or ET? Would an ET be willing to friend a regular human? Not necessarily, not unless it's part of a larger plan. So this kind of goes back to the Galactic Federation and what I'll call the rules of engagement. So if it's not part of the plan, they won't necessarily come around. No. 10. Is Matthew McConaughey going to win the Texas governor's race? No. Don't see him winning. See him making a run for it. So it looks like he'll be in the race. but drop out somewhat early. And it looks like he's leaning heavily right to me and keeping a lot of his cards, if you will, very close to the vest. So no, I don't see Matthew McConaughey winning the governor's race. Number 9, in our top 45 countdown, will Bannon and everyone else get by with defying congressional subpoenas as per 45? I see them all somewhat successfully fighting the subpoenas. And what I mean by that is that they're going to drag it out in court for a long time. But interesting enough, I keep getting this, I'm getting it again, that, for entertainment purposes only, that looks like Bannon is somehow going to be called and have much more difficulty and actually encounter some indictments that will result in some prosecution that will lead to some jail time. So, of all the individuals being subpoenaed, it looks like for some reason Bannon will have more difficulty. So, not everyone will get away, I guess, with the effect of these subpoenas. Number 8 in the countdown, will there ever be an abundance of affordable housing in the US? Yes, but not for another decade. And what I see is that technologies like 3D printing of homes and more economical solar panel technology and battery technology, all these things will lead to more economical, efficient manufacturing of homes and more affordable housing. But it's going to take, they're telling me it's probably going to be another decade before that happens. 7, how much longer before law enforcement on the state and federal levels develop policies and laws to deal with cults? This also is going to be a little bit longer horizon. So a lot of good effort over the next number of years to identify and quantify cults. And that is as far as legislation and how to handle them and deal with them and prosecute. Overall, it's like another 8 years, another 10 years. So good progress, but we're probably looking at another 8 to 10 years here before kind of the teeth, if you will, of the laws and then the consequences really take effect. Number 6 in our countdown, what happens to the souls of young men and boys that are forced to go off to war as soldiers and kill their enemies during battles? So I'm being reminded here that everybody does go through a life review, a very valuable life review, where you review the lessons that you learned here. You quantifiably look at, in a quantitative way, you look at your life path blueprint, why you came down, the lessons that were learned. Everybody's life path blueprint intersects and the lessons that we learn. So although these look like very horrible circumstances, they are part of individuals' life paths, and individuals do reincarnate and come back after learning lessons. So it's all part of the overall process that's here in the universe. Number 5, do saints after they pass over continue to have multiple lives? Well, they're certainly free to do so. There's a lot of free will on the other side, and they can certainly come back and live multiple lives. It's all up to them, a lot of free choice. So there's no definitive answer for that. They can or not as they choose. Number 4, can a soul ever be extinguished? No, souls are pure energy, and pure energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So they can't be extinguished. They can change energy state. You might consider that from going earth to heaven is one example of changing energy state. But spirits cannot be, our energy, pure energy, cannot be created nor destroyed. No. 3, in our top 45 countdown, another Steve Bannon question here. Steve Bannon is calling for 20,000 militia fighters to gather together to attack the Capitol again, not only in Washington, D.C., but at every capital in the U.S. to take over the government. Will his plans ever come to fruition? No, they won't. So that's good news. If there's any good news in what he's doing, what he has done is tip off the military and a lot of government agencies as to what he's planning. And so it's helping them better prepare for anything. But it does not look like any of this will come to fruition. I do see, some writing. We'll have ongoing writing, but nothing on the order of what's being proposed here with 20,000 militia fighters. And number 2 in our countdown, do you see anything coming up this week? I do see more movement on the 2 big, bills going through Congress. The $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill, which was negotiated down, might be 1.2 trillion. And then the $3.5 trillion social programs bill will also be negotiated down, something like 2.6, 2.5 trillion. Maybe it's 2.8 trillion. It's going to get negotiated down, but it will see successful movement on it, not the passing, but successful negotiation. I also see more aggressive announcements on the boosters coming out from all the vaccine manufacturers and the timeline for approvals. I see massive movement ahead on the vaccine for children. Was that 2 to 12, right? So in that nature, or 5 to 12. And last but not least, I see more subpoenas coming out from the 1/6 Commission, the January 6th Commission. And then more activity also on the Pandora papers. So look for that. But a lot of good things. I think the bottom line here and the things that the guides are showing me is that good progress and good movement going forward and kind of helping our nation get back to more reasonableness, holding those accountable that are up to no good. And so we're seeing good movement all the way around in many areas. And the last question we have here, number 1, our top 45 countdown. Do you have anything your guides want to share with us? Yes. Understand that our faith and the love that we put out can move mountains. Just like group prayer can move mountains. So never underestimate our faith and group prayer and the unification of the love that we put forth, trying to manifest the right outcome for this earth and this planet. A lot of the individuals down here are light workers. Keep the faith, stand in love, and help collectively to move the mountains that we need to move and to manifest the right outcome for this earth. We can do it. So on that note, for this show for Sunday, October 10th, I'll give it all back to you. I'm sending a lot of goodwill, a lot of love to you and your families. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. And if anybody needs to book a session with me, it's very easy to do. Just look for sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the book online tab, and my calendar is always up to date. So until next Sunday, again, a lot of goodwill, a lot of love. We'll see you soon.